Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms. I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the channel on YouTube.com. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. Now, unfortunately, Earl Cole is not here today as he had to work a double shift at his job. But fear not, the festivities will continue here on the Lightning Flash update. This is my final video before vacation. I will be going on vacation on Saturday, August 17th to Saturday, August 24th. I will be down at Long Beach Island, so do not disturb. I mean, if you want to come say hi to me, I mean, I'm open to that. I'll be taking a DJ Storm shirt down there, so trust me, you'll have plenty of opportunities to hang. You'll have plenty of opportunities to say hello to me. You'll have plenty of opportunities to do a lot of things with me down at Long Beach Island. But right now, it is the Lightning Flash update. I got a lot to talk about. Another packed edition of the Lightning Flash update. You are not going to want to miss a moment of this. I want you to stick around to the end because I got a lot of good reports concerning Buddy Murphy, concerning a possible Evolution 2, and possibly a new set with Survivor Series coming. I will say who reported that once we get to the news, rumors, and reports section. But right now, we're going to talk about the weekly shows, the 5 weekly shows this week: Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT UK, and, of course, NXT. I don't even really need to go over Monday Night Raw. Nothing really on the show happened outside of Sasha Banks' return and that great fucking match with Drew McIntyre and Cedric Alexander, which I'll go over. I'll go over in depth. Rollins kicked off the show. Pretty much thanked the fans for helping him remember who he is. The OC interrupted. AJ Styles came out and he challenged Rollins. Rollins then accepted, and from that we went into a promo with the Street Profits and Sami Zayn, in which Sami Zayn was pretty much saying that the fans would turn on you and, you know, everyone would change once they come here to Raw and SmackDown. Angelo Dawkins said, "Is that the same thing about Samoa Joe?" Sami Zayn said yes. Sami Zayn was bad-mouthing Joe. Joe was right behind him, and Joe then challenged Sami Zayn to a match and said, "Prove to me that you're more than just Kevin Owens' water boy." Next week, starting next week on Raw and SmackDown, the King of the Ring tournament is back. You know something? I can't really complain about that, and what we are getting as far as the King of the Ring tournament with the participants that have been announced, you know, I'm actually excited for this. If they continue to put forth shit like this that we actually care about and make the tournament memorable, then at the end of the day, I think that Raw and SmackDown are going to be pretty decent shows. Ziggler said he wasn't medically cleared to compete when he made his entrance. He was dressed in street clothes. The Miz was ready for his match with Ziggler, but Ziggler said he wasn't medically cleared to compete. Ziggler then attacked The Miz out of nowhere. We had the match. The Miz defeated Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler pretty much did the same exact thing that he did with Goldberg, and just egged on The Miz. He was talking shit when, you know, he was trying to get up. He was wiggling around and flopping like a fish trying to get up because he was all contorted and beaten down. Miz came back, gave him the skull-crushing finale, and that was it. I'm telling you right now, Ziggler has been buried so far down under that he is reaching the center of the earth and he's going to pop out the other side. Swear to God, man. Moving on, we had a 2 out of 3 falls match with Andrade and Rey Mysterio. This was a clean sweep for Andrade. Andrade got the first fall within 30 seconds when Zelina Vega held his feet on the ropes as he rolled up Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio constantly went for the 619. He did not get it. Andrade ended up getting his knees up on a frog splash, and then he hit the hammerlock DDT. Andrade defeats Rey Mysterio 2 straight falls. If they want to, I would not mind WWE giving Andrade the King of the Ring tournament victory. Rey actually didn't know where his career was going, because he was in an interview afterwards, and he was talking about his family. He says, "I've never lost 2 straight falls like that. I don't know where my career's going. I don't know where they're going with the storyline with Rey Mysterio. We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out." Drew McIntyre and Cedric Alexander. This was great. For the 10 minutes that this was a great match. I enjoyed every single minute of this. These two poured everything into this match. We had Cedric Alexander doing a tope con hero within a minute of this match. Drew McIntyre and Cedric Alexander starting to wear each other down. We had Cedric coming back with a suicide dive to the outside, but Drew McIntyre, he caught him. He caught him with a belly-to-belly on the outside. Looked fucking brutal there. Cedric Alexander was actually hit the lumbar check on the outside to Drew McIntyre. He had to get him back in the ring. McIntyre ended up countering a move that Cedric was supposed to do. He put Cedric in the corner. He was going for the inverted Alabama slam. Cedric Alexander rolled through into a roll-up. McIntyre kicked out at 2. McIntyre ducked the clothesline, hit a claymore that turned Alexander inside out. Drew McIntyre gets the victory over Cedric Alexander. Drew McIntyre is another contender, another top contender in contention for winning King of the Ring. McIntyre and Andrade are in my top 3, I would say. The other one would be Kevin Owens, and I will discuss Kevin Owens once we get to the SmackDown Live review. Robert Roode defeated No Way Jose. This was a 2-minute match. Pretty much took place because Robert Roode, a.k.a. Bobby Roode, is from Canada. And that was pretty much that. Do I think that they're going to actually give him a push? No, I think they're going to put him right back in the chase for the 24/7 title next week. Lucha House Party versus The Revival ended in a no contest when the 24/7 title chase made its way to the ring. Mella tripped up R-Truth. We had a Shatter Machine to R-Truth, and The Revival won the 24/7 title. They became the first ever co-24/7 champions. Kalisto hit the Salida del Sol on Dawson, I believe it was. Dash was taken out of the ring. Mella put Truth on Dawson, and R-Truth won back the 24/7 title. This was absolutely fucking terrible. Lucha House Party and The Revival, we know how good they are. We know that they could put on a great match, but they're subjected to this 24/7 title bullshit. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. There's no other way to describe it. I don't give a shit who you are. Week by week by week, it is only further proving me right. The 24/7 title is an embarrassment. A rehashed gimmick from 20 years ago is not going to do anything. The only person that's actually benefiting from the 24/7 title, and it's not even the 24/7 title that's benefiting him, it's just due to the fact that he's just a genuinely entertaining guy, is R-Truth. R-Truth is the only person that is actually getting support from this 24/7 title chase and this 24/7 title concept. Afterwards, Elias hit him in the back with the guitar as Truth snuck to the back. He avoided the slew of superstars that were chasing him. Elias was in the back. Elias saw Truth. He hit Truth in the back with the guitar. The referee saw it. Referee counted 1, 2, 3. Elias won back the 24/7 title. So Elias is a 3-time 24/7 title champion. In other words, he's a 3-time loser. Natalya came out. She said that Becky and her will fight once again. Her arm was in a sling. By the way, her arm is actually fine. There was nothing wrong with her arm. She was actually just put in this sling to enhance Sasha Banks' return. Sasha Banks returned to a humongous pop. She attacked Natalya. She revealed that she no longer has purple hair. She dyed her hair blue. Interesting. Becky came out, and there was a brawl with Sasha. Sasha ended up standing tall after she repeatedly bashed Becky with a chair. There was actually one shot where Becky got hit right in the back of the head with the steel chair, which looked fucking brutal. Sasha ended up walking away and standing tall. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this all week and where this may go. More likely than not, it's going to lead to a matchup at Clash of Champions with Becky Lynch. Now, I have 2 issues with this. There's 2 things that this entire segment gave off. Number 1, Sasha is merely back because she didn't want to sit on her ass at home. She's back, and she's getting this opportunity with Becky, and I really have an issue with this, mainly because, one, she hasn't done anything to earn it. She just came back and she attacked Natalya. There's no way that they're going to build her up enough to be legitimate enough to take the title off of Becky. Obviously, she's already legit, but she hasn't done anything. She hasn't won a single fucking match since WrestleMania. All she did was take a 5-month hiatus since WrestleMania after she lost the women's tag team titles. Now she comes back and attacks Natalya, so her getting a Raw Women's Championship match wouldn't really make much sense. But the vibe that this segment gave off was ultimatum. Ultimatum. Now, what I mean by that is Sasha Banks didn't want to sit on her ass for the rest of her contract. I know for a fact that Sasha Banks did not want to come back. The vibe that this gave off to me is the ultimatum vibe. Sasha Banks laid down an ultimatum to WWE. If you want me to come back, I want a heel turn, I want a match with Becky Lynch, and I want a Raw Women's Championship title reign. That's the vibe that this gave off. Sasha Banks, I know for a fact, was not going to come back to WWE. She would have rather sat out her contract for however much longer her contract was scheduled for. Whether it was 2020, 2021, 2022, whenever it may have ended, I know for a fact that Sasha Banks, she knew that things were not better in the WWE. She knew that things weren't better. She laid down an ultimatum for WWE. WWE had no choice but to accept. And now Sasha Banks is in this position where she's turned heel. Sasha Banks is facing off against Becky Lynch. And Sasha Banks more than likely is going to win the Raw Women's Championship. Simply because Sasha Banks doesn't trust WWE to build her up over the course of a few months and give her the match with Becky at a later date, possibly WrestleMania 36. Because a babyface Becky Lynch versus a heel Sasha Banks at WrestleMania 36 is realistically the best possible match for the Raw Women's Championship next year. The one question that we have to concern ourselves with is not who is going to take the title off of Sasha Banks when Sasha Banks eventually wins the title. The one glaring issue we have to remember here is how long before Sasha Banks loses the title and WWE punishes her out of pure pettiness for leaving. I know for a fact Sasha Banks is not stupid. Sasha Banks knows WWE's history of pettiness. They broke Demolition's record back in 2016 with the New Day because Demolition filed a concussion lawsuit against WWE. And they broke Demolition's record out of pure pettiness. AJ Lee's Divas Championship reign was broken because of Nikki Bella and the fact that WWE was petty towards the man that AJ Lee married, Mr. Phillip Brooks, aka CM Punk. That's the only reason why Nikki Bella broke AJ Lee's Divas Championship reign. You think Nikki Bella has any talent? No. She can't even run the fucking ropes correctly. You think Nikki Bella deserved it? Nikki Bella didn't do jack shit. Nikki Bella is subpar in the ring when you compare it to AJ Lee. Hell, you could compare most of the women in the WWE right now to Nikki Bella, and there's very few women that are worse than Nikki Bella. Lacey Evans, Alexa Bliss, and Alicia Fox come to mind for me. And then most recently, Kurt Angle was allowed to pick the last few men that he would have faced on his farewell tour, leading up to WrestleMania and his match with Baron Corbin. He selected Rey Mysterio on the Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania. A day ago, I believe it was a day ago or 2 days ago, Kurt Angle was announced for StarCast before Double or Nothing. A little bit over a month later. WWE found out about this. They took away the match with Rey Mysterio out of pure pettiness, and they had Baron Corbin be the one to defeat Kurt Angle in his farewell match. All out of pure pettiness. They could very well do the same thing with Sasha Banks, and I expect them to. There is nothing that this company has done that has led me to believe otherwise. More likely than not, when Sasha Banks loses the title, they are going to punish her for walking out. Do you have any faith that WWE is going to book Sasha Banks with credibility and legitimacy after she loses the Raw Women's title? Do you have any faith in WWE to book Sasha Banks with legitimacy and credibility when she wins the title? I don't. I sure as hell don't. And WWE is given absolutely no reason why you should believe in them either. Sasha Banks, more likely than not, is going to win the championship. Sasha Banks, more likely than not, is going to lose the championship after a few months, and she's going to be punished for the duration of her contract. More likely than not, after her contract is up, she is All Elite bound. Sasha didn't want to sit on her ass, which is why she laid down this ultimatum. She's going to have a Raw Women's Championship reign, a match with Becky Lynch. She's got this heel turn going, and after she loses the title, she's going to be right back in the obscure position in which she was in before she left. Only this time, she's going to be a heel instead of a babyface. There's no doubt in my mind that once her contract is up, Sasha Banks is All Elite bound. She's All Elite bound. I want to be excited about this. There's a part of me that really wants to be excited about this, but I just can't help but feel that this was done because Sasha Banks laid down the ultimatum, and more likely than not, WWE is going to punish Sasha Banks out of pure pettiness for walking out. I want to be excited about this, but that's just the vibe that this gave off to me. The Viking Raiders defeated some jobbers. Again, I don't know what the fuck they're doing with the Viking Raiders, but the fact that they're still facing jobbers and they're not building up the Viking Raiders by having them beat legitimate tag teams and they haven't even gotten a tag team title match yet, fucking pathetic. What's even more pathetic is what happened after this. Bliss and Nikki Cross defeated the Kabuki Warriors. I'm not even going to go over what happened in this match. The fact that Bliss and Nikki Cross are your women's tag team champions is absolutely fucking criminal in its own right. Absolutely fucking criminal. The fact that Asuka and Kairi Sane, you bring Kairi Sane up to job to Alexa Bliss, not once, but twice. That is absolutely fucking pathetic. She was the one pinned in both matches. It is absolutely fucking disgusting. It's disgusting. I wouldn't even be surprised if Asuka and Kairi Sane are out once their contracts are up. Then the main event, we had Rollins versus AJ, ended in a DQ when the OC attacked. Ricochet made the save, but the OC disposed of him very, very quickly. Braun came out, he took out the OC, handed Rollins the Universal Championship, and now apparently we have AJ Styles and Braun Strowman in a United States Championship match next week on Raw. Supposedly, Dave Meltzer is reporting that the plan for Clash of Champions is Braun Strowman versus Seth Rollins. That is one thing that we do not need. That is one thing that we do not need. I genuinely hope he's wrong. What has Braun Strowman done to deserve a Universal Championship match? Braun Strowman is a tired novelty act that has already seen his day, as far as the crowd peaking for him. The guy offers nothing of substance. The guy comes out and does the same fucking thing every week, says get these hands, he barrels through people with shoulder tackles, running power slams, and that's it. Braun Strowman has done absolutely nothing of substance to earn a Universal Championship match. Hell, he hasn't done anything of substance to earn a United States Championship match. Braun Strowman, what has he done? He beat Bobby Lashley in a last man standing match at Extreme Rules. He lost a number one contenders battle royal the night after, and then he defeated a jobber at Raw Reunion, and then he hasn't been seen since then. He wasn't even on SummerSlam, but yet this man is going to get a Universal Championship match. Yet this man is getting a United States Championship match. Braun Strowman needs to go away. Braun Strowman needs to go away, and then he needs to be brought back and repackaged on a different brand. Braun Strowman and his character is absolutely fucking worthless. It's fucking dead. We are not going to get a good match with Rollins and Strowman. Drew McIntyre is the correct man to take that title from Rollins. You need to build up Drew McIntyre and possibly The Fiend to take the title off of Seth Rollins. If not Drew McIntyre, then it's The Fiend. If not The Fiend, then it's Ricochet. Those are the top three men in contention to face Rollins for the Universal Championship. Braun Strowman is worthless. Braun Strowman is not going to result in anything of substance. End of story. Outside of Sasha Banks And Drew McIntyre and Cedric Alexander, show was a complete waste of time. Show was a complete waste of time. SmackDown Live, on the other hand, it was a fairly decent show. We had some decent moments on the show. Owens kicked off the show. He thanked the fans for making his SummerSlam memorable. He talked about what winning King of the Ring would mean to him, which I really enjoyed. Kevin Owens, with the way that Kevin Owens is being built up, him winning King of the Ring would really solidify him as the top babyface on SmackDown. Randy Orton would win the WWE Championship at Clash of Champions. Kevin Owens would win King of the Ring. We could possibly see Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton possibly in December. Possibly in the December pay-per-view. Most likely that's TLC. I would definitely love to see that. I think that would be great. Go forth with it. Shane McMahon interrupted. He called Owens a cheat. And then he fined Owens $100,000. Kevin Owens then went to the back and he threw a stool at the television in Shane McMahon's room and said, you know what, let's make it 105. I actually like what they're doing here, and they're kind of making Kevin Owens a more relatable babyface. And a lot of people weren't very sure about this babyface Kevin Owens character, but WWE is actually going about his character as a babyface very, very well. They're actually putting him in a position in which he's being fined all this money. He's talking about his family. He's talking about the house payments. He's talking about all the bills that he has to pay and the family that he has to support. That's going to make Kevin Owens more relatable in the eyes of the fans. And the more that they do that, the more people are going to get behind Kevin Owens, and the more people are going to want to see Kevin Owens kick Shane McMahon's ass again. And more likely, the fans are going to get behind Kevin Owens so much, they're going to look at him as an everyday guy, and they're going to want him to become WWE Champion as a babyface. So I like what they're doing there. Charlotte Flair versus Ember Moon. This was a good match for what it was. I'm not going to take away what these two women did. There was a huge springboard crossbody to the outside by Ember Moon, which looked fucking great. Back in the ring, we had Ember Moon gaining some momentum here against Charlotte Flair. We had a jumping code breaker from the middle rope. Looked very good. We had Ember Moon hit a super kick on Charlotte Flair for a close 2 count. Charlotte Flair, down the home stretch, hit a big boot and then locked in the figure 8, and Ember Moon tapped out. Listen, it was a good match for what it was. I'm not going to discredit what these women did, but I just can't help but feel disgusted. I can't help but feel disgusted for Ember Moon, because even when she's been given an opportunity, they shaft her every step of the way. This woman waited 17 months to get her first championship match on the main roster. And leading up to the match, you made her look like a complete bitch when you had Alexa Bliss pin her, and then you had Natalya put her in the sharpshooter for 30 seconds before Bayley had to come out and save her. Then you only give Bayley and Ember Moon 10 minutes at SummerSlam. It was rushed, it was sloppy, and it didn't feel important whatsoever. Bayley retains, and now you put her in a match with Charlotte Flair, and you have her tap out to the figure 8. Charlotte Flair more than likely is going to face off against Bayley at Clash of Champions, but I'm telling you, the treatment of Ember Moon ever since she's been on the main roster has been absolutely fucking disgusting. Ember Moon is one of the best that they have to offer, and the fact that even when she was given an opportunity, they shafted her by only giving her a 10-minute match, and they didn't even give her the championship to begin with. You know, it's a slap in the face. How much of an opportunity did Ember Moon really get if she looked like a complete pushover before SummerSlam, and then she was only given 10 minutes, she lost, and then she was made to look like a pushover after SummerSlam when you have Charlotte tap her out? It was a good match, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the match. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't enjoy the match, but the fact that Ember Moon has been shafted and treated like a complete bitch every single step of the way, it just breaks my fucking heart. It breaks my fucking heart. Bryan and Rowan addressed the accusations with Roman Reigns' attacks. Bryan and Rowan came out. Bryan said that he doesn't blame Buddy Murphy for doing what he did because if any of the people had their head pinned against the wall, you would lie and give Roman Reigns a name so that way Roman Reigns would take his forearm out of your face. Buddy Murphy, though, he gave the wrong name. I love what Bryan said here. Bryan said to the crowd that this is the problem with the community and society. Someone says a lie, someone spits a lie to you, and automatically it spreads on social media and becomes the truth. I love that. That right there could not be more true. Daniel Bryan, fucking fantastic. Daniel Bryan hits a home run every single time with his promo game. He said that him and Rowan are innocent, and they were going to prove it. Roman Reigns and Buddy Murphy. This was great. I could go back and watch it. I would rather go back and watch this match over and over again for 3 hours rather than watch 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. This was great. This was great. Buddy Murphy and Roman Reigns absolutely tore the fucking house down. I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. Buddy Murphy, before the commercial break, he did a leaping meteor to Roman Reigns off of the steps. Back in the ring, after we come back from commercial, Roman Reigns hit a sit-out powerbomb to Murphy. Buddy Murphy was able to counter one of Roman Reigns' Superman punches. I believe he countered a Superman punch, tossed Roman Reigns to the outside, did a beautiful Tope Con Hero. The height that Buddy Murphy gets on his Tope Con Hero is absolutely fucking amazing. I don't think I've ever seen something as beautiful as Buddy Murphy's Tope Con Hero. He did a meteor in the ring. Roman Reigns was able to kick out. Roman Reigns was able to hit a Superman punch after Buddy Murphy hit a super kick on Roman. And Roman Reigns pinned Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy kicked out. Buddy Murphy was on the receiving end of a leaping Superman punch off the steps on the outside. Roman Reigns threw Buddy Murphy back in the ring, hit a spear, knocked Buddy Murphy topsy-turvy, turning him inside out. Roman Reigns defeats Buddy Murphy. It was a fantastic match, and you know something? I don't even mind that Roman Reigns won. I don't even mind. I genuinely do not even mind that Roman Reigns won. Buddy Murphy looked like a beast. Buddy Murphy looked like an absolute beast. And I actually have some news on Buddy Murphy and this entire storyline regarding Buddy Murphy, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan when we get to the news, rumors, and reports section. Roman Reigns obviously is still a failure. He's still a failure. There's no doubt. No doubt. No doubt Roman Reigns is still a failure. Roman Reigns will always be a failure until WWE turns him heel. But when you pair Roman Reigns with the correct man, he gives you a damn good match. That I can appreciate. I don't even mind that Roman Reigns won. Buddy Murphy and Roman Reigns put on a great match. This was the best part of SmackDown Live. I could go back and watch this match for 14 minutes every single day for the next week if I wanted to. Great shit. We had Samoa Joe versus Kevin Owens with Elias as the special guest enforcer. This was SummerSlam all over again. The match itself wasn't that bad, but it didn't really go too long. Kevin Owens was able to mount the comeback with a senton on Samoa Joe. We had a super kick on Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe planted Kevin Owens with a Uranagi, but Kevin Owens was able to stay alive. Kevin Owens hit a pop-up powerbomb on Samoa Joe. He was able to get the big man up. Elias pulled the referee out. The referee was taken out. Samoa Joe rolled up Kevin Owens, and Elias made a fast count, and Samoa Joe defeats Kevin Owens. Samoa Joe is obviously one of the competitors going into King of the Ring, and more likely than not, Samoa Joe is going to have a good showing inside King of the Ring. Daniel Bryan and Rowan in the back attacked Buddy Murphy. Murphy was pretty much put in the same position that Roman Reigns put him in. Bryan and Rowan got in his face, and Bryan kept on saying over and over again, tell the crowd why you lied. And here's what I loved about this segment. I liked this segment in the sense that Bryan and Rowan were essentially being hypocrites. They were essentially being hypocrites, playing up to Daniel Bryan's heel gimmick. And that was fantastic. Pinning Buddy Murphy against the wall. Buddy Murphy had no choice but to say that he lied. Bryan said, I just hate liars. And then Rowan threw him into the garbage can. I like the segment in that sense because it's playing up to Daniel Bryan's heel character, but I don't like the segment in the sense that Buddy Murphy has been pretty much put in the same position as Ember Moon. Buddy Murphy has been treated like a complete bitch, a pushover. Buddy Murphy's not a pushover. You see what he did in there against Roman Reigns? That's how you should be booking Buddy Murphy if you're going to have Buddy Murphy lose. You should not be booking Buddy Murphy in segments in which he's pinned against the wall every week and screamed at to say something that whoever is attacking him wants him to say. Like I said, Buddy Murphy had been portrayed as a bully. He was the one that was pushing people over. He wasn't the pushover. He was pushing people over on 205 Live. You could do the same thing on Raw and SmackDown if you wanted to. Buddy Murphy is the type of guy that you can build up as a jock heel. No matter his size. No matter his size. After what he did against Roman Reigns and he carried Roman Reigns to a great match, Buddy Murphy could easily be built up as a jock heel. I don't like the fact that they're portraying Buddy Murphy as a pushover. Outside of that, I didn't really have a problem with the segment. I didn't have a problem with the match. It was a great fucking match. That's all I can really say about that. Randy Orton came out to cut a promo before the New Day took on the Revival. We had Kofi in the ring with the New Day. Randy said that Kofi couldn't beat him, and he offered Kofi another opportunity to prove that he could beat him. He said, why don't we join in on this match and let's have ourselves a little six-man tag. It was a decent six-man tag. I'm not going to take away from what it was. It was fast-paced. Xavier Woods was on the receiving end of a lot of punishment from the Revival and Orton to start off this match. We had the Revival getting the win here. The Revival took out Big E. Big E was taken out momentarily. Kofi took out Orton. And Xavier Woods was on the receiving end of a shatter machine. And the Revival pin the tag team champions. I do not like that whatsoever. They really need to start making champions a priority on Raw and SmackDown. I am sick and tired of seeing champions lose every single week. I don't mind them losing every once in a while, like they did with Velveteen Dream, but if you're going to have your champions, literally every single one of your champions, your Raw Women's Champion, your SmackDown Women's Champion, your Universal Champion, your WWE Champion, your Intercontinental Champion, your SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, your Raw Tag Team Champions, if you're going to have your champions lose every single week, then how much does being a champion really mean? Being a champion means pretty much the same thing as being Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Worthless. Jobbers. Meaningless. They really need to start building up champions as legitimate champions. I'm talking about stop having champions lose every single week. I'm talking about actually building up champions to a point where people look at them and take them seriously and stop handing out victories over champions as if they're handing out candy on Halloween. Afterwards, we had an RKO to Kofi, an RKO to Woods, an RKO to Big E, and a second RKO to Kofi. Randy Orton stood tall. More likely than not, the Revival are going to face the New Day at Clash of Champions, and WWE is going to try again to get the Revival to sign a new deal. Most likely by giving them the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles. And more likely than not, we're going to get Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston at Clash of Champions. We had a segment and a confrontation backstage between Roman Reigns and Rowan and Daniel Bryan. Bryan promised Roman Reigns that they found the culprit. So next week, Bryan and Rowan are going to supposedly bring Roman Reigns, the attacker. Interesting to see what they do as far as this angle goes next week. This is actually a very good angle. I'm into it. We're going to see who did it. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they put forth a good storyline and a good match and a good feud with Roman Reigns and whoever this attacker may be. I actually have a theory on who it might be. Aleister Black was seen backstage again in his boiler room, in his locker room, wherever it may be, in this dark room, pretty much challenging anyone to knock on his door and pick a fight with him again. There's a part of me that thinks that Aleister Black might be the attacker. Why not? You can have Aleister Black go out of his way to say that, hey, I was sitting in the back waiting for people to pick a fight with me. I got tired of waiting, so I decided to pick a fight with someone else. What better way to do it than to take out one of the top guys in this company? Roman Reigns. I wouldn't mind it. Some people were actually saying that it might have been Luke Harper. Some people want it to be Luke Harper. I wouldn't mind that either. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Decent episode of SmackDown Live. I just can't help but complain about the New Day as champions losing again. I can't help but complain about the fact that Buddy Murphy is a pushover, and I can't help but complain about the fact that Ember Moon has been treated so fucking poorly. 205 Live. It was actually a good show this week. We actually had a lot of interesting matches and interesting storylines developing on 205 Live. Akira Tozawa and Jack Gallagher started off the show. Good match for what it was. There was a point in this match in the beginning where Jack Gallagher popped up Akira Tozawa over the top rope, and Akira Tozawa landed headfirst on the LED post, and there was a little cut. There was a little cut right above his left eye that was dripping blood a little bit. So we got a little cut right above his left eye. It wasn't that bad, but the ref put on the gloves and everything. It didn't seep down into his eyes, but he was fine. He was fine. Akira Tozawa hit a huge suicide dive through the ropes. He hit a drop kick to Jack Gallagher. Gallagher was able to kick out. Gallagher was in control. He put Akira Tozawa in a modified kudo hold and put Akira Tozawa up on the top rope. Akira Tozawa took down Jack Gallagher with a gourd buster off the top. Jack Gallagher fell flat to the ground. Akira Tozawa hit the diving senton. Jack Gallagher got his foot on the rope. Brian Kendrick was on the outside, and he slapped the rope out of excitement, and Jack Gallagher's foot fell off the rope. Akira Tozawa got the win. If they're going to make this into a storyline, I'm actually interested to see how this plays out. We're going to see how that storyline plays out. We could see a potential Brian Kendrick heel turn, a potential Akira Tozawa heel turn. I wouldn't mind it. One heel turn that I think we're actually only weeks away from seeing is a Lince Dorado heel turn, and I'm going to explain why. Lince Dorado was shown in the back, and him, Kalisto, and Humberto found Gran Metalik attacked in a hallway. Humberto was the first one there, then came Lince and Kalisto. Drake Maverick ended up making a six-man tag between Daivari, the Singh brothers, and the Lucha House Party and Humberto. So we had Humberto taking the place of Gran Metalik. Remember what Arya Daivari said last week? How Lince Dorado could be the breakout star of Lucha House Party. So if they want to go ahead with the heel Lince Dorado, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I think that would be fucking great if they go forth with that. This was pretty much a standard six-man tag. Nothing really too special here. This only went about 9 minutes. We had everyone hitting their big spots down the home stretch. Here, we had Kalisto taking out Arya Daivari with the Salida del Sol. Double super kick by the Singh brothers. Humberto Carrillo took both men out with the double cross body. We had Lince and Humberto doing double planchas over the top. Arya Daivari took a hike, and he said he didn't need this match. He didn't need the Singh brothers. Arya Daivari took a trip to the back. Arya Daivari was gone. This left the Singh brothers prone. Humberto Carrillo hit the missile dropkick on Sunil Singh, I believe it was. He hit the twisting splash, but not before Lince Dorado made the tag. Lince Dorado hit the shooting star press, and Lince Dorado gets the win for his team, possibly building to a potential Lince Dorado heel turn and a potential feud between Humberto and Lince Dorado. Humberto Carrillo stays unbeaten. Humberto Carrillo continues to gain more and more momentum. We're going to have to wait and see where this leads as far as Humberto Carrillo and a potential Cruiserweight Championship match. Speaking of a Cruiserweight Championship match, Drake Maverick took it upon himself to make a rematch between Drew Gulak and Oney Lorcan for the Cruiserweight Championship. This was a very good match. I enjoyed it very much. And, I do have to say something. These matches on 205 Live, they really make me proud in a sense that they are great matches, but they piss me off a little bit. They piss me off a little bit because it makes no sense why these guys get nearly 20 minutes on 205 Live, but yet when they're on a pay-per-view, they don't even get 9 minutes. That's fucking pathetic. I said this on the Rewind for SummerSlam, and I will post a link in the description. It's a 2-hour pre-show. It's a 2-hour fucking pre-show. There is no reason why any of those matches on a 2-hour pre-show should be getting anything less than 11 to 12 minutes. No reason whatsoever. But this was a very good match. Oney Lorcan actually did a huge cannonball to the outside within 2 minutes of this match. We had a nice flurry by Oney Lorcan where he hit a deep-cleaning uppercut, pinned Drew Gulak, close 2 count. He then hit a blockbuster, another close 2 count. He then hit a huge lariat, and then a third close 2 count. So it was three moves, one after the other, and a pinfall, which resulted in a 2 count every time afterwards. Drew Gulak hit a huge lariat, turned Lorcan inside out, knocked him for a twisting loop. We had Oney Lorcan hitting a half-and-half suplex from the top rope. Oney Lorcan hit a huge half-and-half suplex from the top rope, looked brutal, the impact was great. Oney Lorcan was crawling over to Gulak. He put one arm over. 1, 2, Gulak got his right foot on the bottom rope. And, it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that that is really going to get Oney Lorcan over as an underdog babyface. I understand Oney Lorcan is a beast. Don't get me wrong. He's a Boston brawler. He could take you and he could slap the shit out of you. He could fucking bruise your chest with those chops. Trust me, I know. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of Oney Lorcan's chops either. The guy is a brawler. The guy is a beast. But at the end of the day, Oney Lorcan is just like everyone else. He's a common man. Oney Lorcan is a common man, and it's stuff like this that it's really going to get the crowd behind Oney Lorcan as an underdog babyface. And when Oney Lorcan wins the Cruiserweight Championship, it's only going to make that moment a lot more better for him. After Drew Gulak got his foot on the bottom rope, Oney Lorcan becomes obsessed. Oney Lorcan takes Drew Gulak to the outside. He throws him into the barricade. He throws him into the steps. He throws him into the announce table. Throws him back into the ring. He grabs him by his face. And he starts smacking the shit out of him. He does a spinning backhand slap for a close 2 count. Drew Gulak reverses a half-and-half suplex into an O'Connor roll out of the corner. Locks in the Gulak. And remember, Oney Lorcan, he did not tap out. Oney Lorcan passed out to the Gulak. Drew Gulak retains the Cruiserweight Championship. A very good match. Drew Gulak is still your champion, and this was his best title defense of his reign thus far. I do have my concern about this. Because while Oney Lorcan did look strong in the end when he didn't tap out, at the end of the day, I just can't help but feel as though Oney Lorcan was placed in this position way too soon. Oney Lorcan, I said, would have been the correct man to take the title off of Gulak. The fact that Humberto has been unbeaten for 5 months and he still hasn't gotten a Cruiserweight title opportunity is a little questionable. It's a little questionable and it really doesn't make any sense. Oney Lorcan didn't really have that much momentum behind him when he won the 6-pack challenge to go forth to SummerSlam to face Gulak. Now, they could ultimately end up building Oney Lorcan back up, and he could end up being the one to take the title off of Gulak, but right now, I just can't help but feel as though they put Oney Lorcan in there with Drew Gulak too soon, and he was pretty much made to be just another interim opponent for Gulak, just for Gulak to beat. Maybe Humberto Carrillo could very well win the Cruiserweight Championship from Drew Gulak, who knows? Maybe we could very well get Chad Gable winning the Cruiserweight title from Drew Gulak at Survivor Series. Chad Gable's only had 2 matches on 205 Live, but in those 2 matches, he's made himself out to be a fucking monster in the Cruiserweight division. Drew Gulak could very well be in danger of losing the Cruiserweight title to Chad Gable at Survivor Series. I just can't help but feel as though Oney Lorcan was put in there too early, and more likely than not, his time right now is past. I don't think he's going to be Cruiserweight champion now. I think he could very well be Cruiserweight champion next year. We're going to have to wait and see what happens, but it was a very good match. Don't get me wrong. Very good match. I enjoyed it. And here's something that I noticed. 4 matches that took place over the course of Raw, SmackDown, and 205 Live. Specifically, McIntyre and Alexander, Buddy Murphy and Roman Reigns, Charlotte and Ember, and Gulak and Oney. All 4 of those matches were better than the majority of matches on SummerSlam's card. That's fucking sad. That is very, very sad. SummerSlam's supposed to be your second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and you have 4 matches on your regular weekly shows topping the majority of what you put on at SummerSlam. They really got to step it up, man. They really got to step it up as far as their pay-per-views go. They really do. Moving on to NXT UK. This is actually a pretty good episode of NXT UK. This episode built very nicely towards NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. We had a decent match between Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Coffey to kick off the show. Flash Morgan Webster used a lot of his aerial attacks against Mark Coffey. We had a moonsault out of the corner. We had Mark Coffey hitting an enziguri on Flash Morgan Webster. Flash Morgan Webster was on the receiving end of a clubbing blow to the back of the neck by Mark Coffey. Flash Morgan Webster ended up taking out Wolfgang, and then Mark Coffey ended up taking out Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews was down. Mark Coffey went back into the ring, and Mark Coffey was rolled up by Flash Morgan Webster. Flash Morgan Webster defeats Mark Coffey, so they have one more match, and if they can win that match, then they are going to get an NXT UK Tag Team title opportunity alongside Gallus at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Interesting to see how that plays out. Jordan Devlin was being interviewed backstage, and out of nowhere, we had a brawl interrupt the interview, and the brawl was between Rhea Ripley and Piper Niven. So more likely than not, we could very well see another match between Ripley and Niven, and it could very well result in Niven getting the win, and Piper Niven is going to be the one that sends Rhea Ripley out of NXT UK. We could very well see Rhea Ripley on either Raw or SmackDown in the near future, possibly when SmackDown Live goes to Fox. We'll see how that plays out. We had a good match between Travis Banks and Kenny Williams. Noam Dar was on commentary here. Travis Banks and Kenny Williams, they went back and forth. We had Travis Banks hitting a Shining Wizard. We had Travis Banks hitting a suicide dive through the ropes on Kenny Williams. Kenny Williams ended up firing back. We had the springboard back elbows by Kenny Williams out of the corner. The springboard back elbow off the top rope. Travis Banks was able to get the victory here as Kenny Williams went for a clothesline. Travis Banks ducked it. He went up to the middle rope, hit the Slice of Heaven enziguri, then hit the Kiwi Crusher. Travis Banks defeats Kenny Williams. They do a little fist bump afterwards. Good sign of sportsmanship. Noam Dar was then shown doing little golf claps very sarcastically and offering sarcastic words of encouragement to Travis Banks. So there was a little altercation between Travis Banks and Noam Dar there. Could very well possibly set up Travis Banks and Noam Dar at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, which I wouldn't mind whatsoever. I think that would be a great match. Nina Samuels defeated Isla Dawn. This only went about 5-6 minutes. This wasn't really anything special. This was pretty much Isla Dawn and Nina Samuels getting whatever they had to get in on the match. We had Isla Dawn hitting some kicks, hitting a jumping knee on Nina Samuels. Nina Samuels ended up getting the victory here with the Nina Goroshi Nina Samuels gets the victory over Isla Dawn. I don't really know where they're going with both women. We're going to have to wait and see how it plays out. At NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, we actually have another match confirmed. So this is their third match confirmed for TakeOver Cardiff. It is going to be Joe Coffey versus Dave Mastiff in a last man standing match. This I can get behind. I'm very much looking forward to this. Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey in a last man standing match. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what these two are going to have to offer in this last man standing match. And if I was to pick an early winner here, I'm going to go with Dave Mastiff. And I think Dave Mastiff could very well be next in line to challenge Walter for the NXT UK Championship. Next week, we have a face-to-face confrontation with Walter and Bate. And then we also have The Hunt taking on Imperium. And then in the main event, we had Ilya Dragunov versus Cassius Ohno. This was a great match. If you really want to go back and watch something from NXT UK, it's this. This was Ilya Dragunov's best match in NXT UK thus far. And it's a testament to how good Cassius Ohno really is. The story of the match was Ilya Dragunov's right arm. The right arm was being worked on for the majority of the match here by Cassius Ohno. We had Ilya Dragunov doing a 619 into a clothesline. He calls it the 6-1 line. We had Ilya Dragunov and Cassius Ohno going back and forth, strike for strike. We had Ilya Dragunov hitting a beautiful enziguri, and he got Cassius Ohno up for the German suplex. But that wasn't the only amount of power that Ilya Dragunov showcased. Cassius Ohno was on the receiving end of a huge powerbomb, a sit-out powerbomb. Ilya Dragunov was walking with Cassius Ohno on his shoulders. Remind you, Cassius Ohno is 6'6", 280 pounds. Ilya Dragunov is only 195. Ilya Dragunov was walking with Cassius Ohno, and he was able to powerbomb him. He was able to fucking powerbomb Cassius Ohno after he held him there for about 5 seconds. Down the home stretch here, Cassius Ohno was able to hit Ilya Dragunov with a... I think he hit him with a kick that sent Ilya Dragunov into the post. Either way, Ilya Dragunov was sent shoulder first into the post. The shoulder was the weak point, and Cassius Ohno took advantage of that. Cassius Ohno hit the rolling elbow. Cassius Ohno defeats Ilya Dragunov in a great match in the main event of NXT UK. I don't really know where they're going with Cassius Ohno. I don't think he's going to be on NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. But if he keeps on putting on great matches like this, then I don't really have a problem with him. I don't really know where he's going, though. I don't really think that he's going to get an opportunity against Walter, mainly because of the fact that it's heel versus heel. And I don't think they're going to do heel versus heel. He calls himself a wrestling genius, so he's a clear-cut heel. So I don't think that Cassius Ohno is going to be in any major title implications going into the future, unless they introduce a mid-card title. They could very well introduce a mid-card title, mainly because of the fact that they just have an overabundance of talent in NXT UK that there's really not going to be much room for anyone. We'll see how that plays out. But good episode of NXT UK. We'll see how they continue to build towards NXT UK going into NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. NXT, this was pretty much a two-match show. It was nothing really special. We had Breezango defeating the Forgotten Sons in a decent tag team match to start the show. Fandango looks great. Fandango looks fantastic. Fandango was all over the Forgotten Sons. He got the hot tag. He was taking out both of the Forgotten Sons. We had a tornado DDT by Fandango, which resulted in Fandango hitting Steve Cutler, I believe it was, with an enziguri, and then hitting a DDT on Wesley Blake. We had Fandango hitting a huge Tope Con Hero to the outside, taking out both of the Forgotten Sons. And then in the closing moments, we had Tyler Breeze and Fandango hitting a slingshot. We had a slingshot into a forearm, and then a springboard elbow drop when Wesley Blake was draped over the knees of Tyler Breeze, and Fandango ended up getting the win. So I think that Breezango is going to be a big part. They're going to play a big part in the NXT Tag Team division. They could very well be in contention for the NXT Tag Team titles after the Undisputed Era wins the titles, because I have a feeling they're eventually going to win the titles. No doubt in my mind. The rest of the show was pretty much just highlights outside of the NXT Breakout Tournament Finals. Next week we have Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane. Hopefully we get an actual match this time. Jordan Myles defeated Cameron Grimes. It was an okay match, but I just couldn't help but feel as though Jordan Myles and Cameron Grimes didn't really gel too well together. I mean, both of them are great in their own right, but they just didn't really gel too well together. I feel as though they kind of rushed this, and if it would have been put on a TakeOver, if they would have put this on TakeOver, I feel as though you would have given these guys 15 minutes, and it would have come off a hell of a lot better, if you know what I mean. Jordan Myles ended up getting the win. Jordan Myles gets an NXT Championship match of his choosing, and if I was a betting man, I think we're going to get Jordan Myles versus the Velveteen Dream down the line, and that is going to be a fucking banger of a match. Now, onto the news, rumors, and reports. So my first report comes from PW Insider. PW Insider reports that there are rumblings about the next AEW pay-per-view event following All Out. The rumors is that it is going to take place in November, but it is not 100% confirmed yet. Now, of course, we know that the WWE hosts Survivor Series in November. This year it's taking place on November 24th, if I am not mistaken. So AEW would definitely have some competition there, competing with the Survivor Series in November, if they do decide to do a November pay-per-view event. We'll see how that plays out. At this rate, I'm not even concerned about what they call it. I'm just looking for a good wrestling event. And I know that AEW is 1,000% going to deliver. They haven't given me a reason to doubt them yet. I got a report from Brad Shepard, and he reports that the company, aka the WWE could very well be moving back towards unique pay-per-view stages, possibly as soon as the November pay-per-view event known as the Survivor Series. He states, and I quote, "According to a source in WWE, unique pay-per-view stages are coming back, starting with Survivor Series." Now, I'm going to approach this the same way that I approached the report that the SmackDown Fist is supposedly coming back. I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with WWE going back to unique pay-per-view sets. The problem that I have is the fact that they could do unique pay-per-view sets all they want. They could do unique pay-per-view sets. They could go to TV14. They could switch up the weekly shows. They could do that all they want. But if they're not putting out quality storylines, if they're not putting out quality matches, if they're not giving us a serious sports-driven product on the WWE main roster, then no one's going to care. No one's going to care about a new set for Survivor Series, or the SmackDown Fist coming back, or the fact that they went back to TV14. If the quality of the storylines are not good, if the storylines are not serious and legitimate, if we don't get a serious sports-like feel on Raw and SmackDown, then you're not going to see much praise. You're really not going to see much praise. The people like me with actual brains are going to continue to complain and are going to continue to call out WWE on their bullshit. Plain and simple. They could do unique pay-per-view sets all they want. If they don't give us good shows, I'm not going to give a shit. Pay-per-view sets changing are not the problem. Pay-per-view sets being ordinary, or WWE not having a SmackDown Fist, or WWE being PG, that's not the problem. NXT is PG. Look at NXT. You rarely see any complaints about NXT. Moving on, I got another report from PW Insider. PW Insider reports that WWE canceled 5 live events on August 23rd, August 24th, August 25th, August 30th, and August 31st respectfully. Rather interesting that WWE all of a sudden decides to cancel them now when they were pretty much set in their ways. But I don't want to start any speculation, but the fact that they canceled these events and these events are taking place on the same day or the same week specifically as All Out, I don't know. Maybe that's just a coincidence on my part, but I don't really know why they decided to cancel them. More likely than not, the ticket sales are doing horrible. Ticket sales are shit. Moving on. Brock Lesnar. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that name ever again, but unfortunately he is in the news, rumors, and reports section of the LFU today. Brock Lesnar is currently scheduled as a guest for SmackDown Live on the 20th anniversary special in October. This has started speculation that he might be exclusive to SmackDown Live, especially since the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that once SmackDown Live moves to Fox, the brand split will be in full force again. Now, I'm not sure what is going on as far as the backstage management and Brock Lesnar goes. More likely than not, Brock Lesnar's going to stick around. More likely than not, Lesnar's going to stick around. Paul Heyman said that Lesnar is getting no rematches against Seth Rollins. So more likely than not, we are going to see Brock Lesnar on SmackDown Live. And I really wouldn't mind that. I would not mind that whatsoever. Brock Lesnar on SmackDown Live, I have no problem with it. As long as Brock Lesnar is not in a championship match, I will have no problem with Brock Lesnar on SmackDown Live. I won't. I don't have a problem with Brock Lesnar, to be quite honest with you. I just don't like him as a champion. Brock Lesnar, he's put on great matches. Look at the match with Seth Rollins. Look at the match with Finn Balor. Look at the match with AJ Styles. Look at the matches with The Undertaker. Look at the matches with Daniel Bryan. He put on a great fucking match. So at the end of the day, I really wouldn't mind it. I really wouldn't mind it whatsoever. As long as he's kept out of the WWE Championship picture, okay. Brock Lesnar on SmackDown Live doesn't really sound too bad to me. Moving on. This is actually a very interesting report. And I wanted to dissect this report specifically. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that Buddy Murphy's involvement with the Roman Reigns storyline wasn't even supposed to happen. He stated that Murphy was accidentally in the video and WWE filmed it at an angle in which Murphy was shown. The speculation came online and WWE decided that they might as well run with it. This resulted in Murphy's push in this main event storyline involving Reigns, Bryan, and Rowan. Now, I'm happy that Buddy Murphy's getting TV time, because if he wasn't accidentally filmed, then more than likely we wouldn't have gotten this great match with Roman Reigns that we got, and Buddy Murphy would probably still be sitting in catering doing nothing. At the same point in time, though, I'm pissed. I'm pissed, and I need to look at this in a critical way because of the fact that Buddy Murphy is one of the best wrestlers that this company has to offer. Buddy Murphy was drafted to SmackDown Live in the Superstar Shakeup back in the middle of April. He only had one televised appearance, and that was when he competed in the 50-man Battle Royal at Super Showdown when he was eliminated within 4 minutes. You're telling me that this company had no plans for Buddy Murphy, of all people, a billion-dollar company, had no plans for one of the best wrestlers that the company has to offer. They drafted him with no plans whatsoever, and he was sitting in fucking catering for 5 months. And WWE has to rely on someone accidentally filming him, online speculation to come about. His name explodes on the internet, and WWE decides, hey, you know what? Let's run with it. This is pretty much the same incident as Kofi Kingston. WWE should have had plans to push Kofi Kingston to the main event in 2011-2012. Kofi Kingston was ready for a world title run at that time. He was ready. That didn't happen. And Kofi Kingston was essentially in mid-card purgatory forever. They found the New Day. The New Day became multiple-time tag team champions, and then Ali went down with injury. Kofi Kingston was put in the Elimination Chamber in Ali's spot. Kofi Kingston had a career-altering performance in the Gauntlet match. And WWE decided, hey, you know what? Let's run with it. After Kofi Kingston's name blew up online, which resulted in Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 35. WWE should have solid plans for wrestlers like Buddy Murphy. The fact that they called him up without any solid plans whatsoever, and they have to rely on their name blowing up on social media just to give them ideas, is fucking pathetic. This is a billion-dollar company. WWE should have already made plans to push Buddy Murphy into a mid-card storyline, which could have resulted him in becoming Intercontinental Champion, or could have very well resulted in him becoming World Champion by mid-2020, if they wanted to. There's no reason why Buddy Murphy should have been sitting in catering for 5 months, and because of someone filming this Roman Reigns segment at an angle in which Buddy Murphy was accidentally in the shot and his name blew up online, now WWE decides to use Buddy Murphy. This is a billion-dollar company. A billion-dollar company should not have to rely on a superstar's name blowing up on social media to give them ideas to push him. WWE needs to do a better job at building superstars up in positions, especially Buddy Murphy, in positions with solid plans that could very well result in Buddy Murphy getting over with the audience and could very well result in championship reigns. There's no reason why Buddy Murphy should have been stuck in catering for 5 months before this incident happened. It's inexcusable. I have no problem with Buddy Murphy getting television time. I have no problem that Buddy Murphy is in this segment. He's in a storyline with two of the biggest names in the company, Bryan and Roman. But at the end of the day, the fact that this came about because he was accidentally filmed in the background is fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. I got a report from Bodyslam.net. You're going to want to hear this. Bodyslam.net reports that Dolph Ziggler and McMahon, as in Vince McMahon, had a deal that Ziggler would work through SummerSlam, with Raw, after SummerSlam, being his final date. McMahon would then grant Ziggler his release from WWE. Apparently, Vince has gone back on his promise with Ziggler. The report from Bodyslam.net states, and I quote, "On Monday, prior to Raw, Dolph approached Vince McMahon to thank him. However, it was then that Vince told Dolph that he could not let him out of his deal and that he would rather pay him to stay home." I wonder why. If you need any more reason why Vince McMahon said he would rather just pay Dolph to stay home, it's quite simple. It's quite simple, and it's three little magic words. 3 little magic words that prompted Vince McMahon to make this decision. All Elite Wrestling. All Elite Wrestling. Dolph Ziggler is one of the many, many people in the WWE that's been a victim of bad booking. Dolph Ziggler is someone that the company never fully invested their time and money in. Dolph Ziggler is someone who WWE never saw as a main event guy. Dolph Ziggler had arguably one of the best, if not the best, Money in the Bank cash-in of all time, depending on who you talk to. It's a tie for me. It's a tie between Ziggler and Rollins, but without a shadow of a doubt, Ziggler had one of the best Money in the Bank cash-ins of all time. That crowd in New Jersey at the Izon Center after WrestleMania 29, they were just so ready. They were ready for Dolph Ziggler to finally be that guy. They were ready for Ziggler to be the man. They were ready for Ziggler to have a lengthy World Heavyweight Championship reign that would have defined his career. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Dolph Ziggler held the title for 69 days, lost it back to Alberto Del Rio for whatever reason, and was pretty much stuck in mid-card purgatory. WWE had another chance to push Dolph Ziggler as the man. Back in Survivor Series of 2014, when Dolph Ziggler was the final man left for Team Cena. Team Cena had Kane, Harper, and Rollins. Ziggler eliminated Kane. Ziggler eliminated Harper. It came down to Rollins and Ziggler. Sting made his debut, which resulted in Sting helping Ziggler defeat Team Authority and send the Authority away. That right there would have been the perfect time to capitalize on Dolph Ziggler and Dolph Ziggler's momentum. Dolph Ziggler at that time would have been perfect, would have been absolutely fucking perfect as WWE champion. WWE didn't do that. WWE ended up bringing the Authority back after a month. WWE ended up firing Dolph Ziggler, Rowan, and Ryback at that time, only for Cena to get their jobs back. Ziggler entered the Royal Rumble at number 30 in 2015. He was eliminated in 2.5 minutes and was sent back to the obscure position that he was in before the Survivor Series match. Dolph Ziggler is without a doubt one of the most mistreated individuals in WWE history. Dolph Ziggler has been booked into a position in which he's pretty much been made out to be a glorified jobber. He's one of the best in-ring competitors that the company has to offer, but unfortunately WWE's made him out to be a glorified jobber. A loser. He has not won a single feud since he's been back on main roster television. And it's fucking sad. He's fucking sad. It is definitely fucking sad. I mean, Vince McMahon, he's stupid. Vince McMahon is stupid, but he's not stupid. Vince McMahon knows that if he lets Dolph Ziggler out of his contract, wherever Dolph Ziggler goes, wherever he goes, Dolph Ziggler is going to make an even bigger name for himself than he's ever made in the WWE. Because the WWE never gave him the proper opportunity. They always shafted Dolph Ziggler at every single step of the way. They never believed in Dolph Ziggler. The crowd wanted him, but because of WWE's lack of belief, they never pushed him, and they pretty much made him out to be a glorified jobber. Vince McMahon knows that if Dolph Ziggler was out of his WWE contract, wherever he would go, whether he went to the Indies or whether he went to another company, another big company in the wrestling industry, Vince McMahon knows that Dolph Ziggler would make an even bigger name for himself than he's ever made in the WWE, and he would fucking stick it to Vince McMahon. He would fucking stick it to McMahon without a shadow of a fucking doubt. You need any more proof? Look at Shawn Spears. Look at Cody. Look at Jon Moxley. All of those men left WWE. Look at what they've done. They've become some of the biggest names in the wrestling industry that aren't in WWE. Shawn Spears has looked better than he's ever looked before in AEW, in this feud with Cody Rhodes. Cody has become a multiple-time Ring of Honor champion. He won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship at All In. He's one of the executives of his own company now. He's going into a program with Shawn Spears. He had one of the best matches of the fucking year with his brother, Dustin Rhodes, back at Double or Nothing. Look at Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley in the WWE was made into a glorified comedy act. A glorified comedy act, and was never given the opportunity to really go out there and show you what he's all about. He was essentially made into a watered down comedy villain, especially during his last 6 months with the company. Jon Moxley went to All Elite Wrestling, and he got probably the ovation of the fucking year when he made his debut at the end of Double or Nothing, and he attacked Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Jon Moxley is going into a matchup with Kenny Omega, of all people, one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's going into a matchup with Kenny Omega at All Out. He's going into a matchup with Shawn Spears on the second episode of AEW Revolution on TNT. If you need any more proof that Dolph Ziggler could definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, make a name for himself on the independent scene and become an even bigger star than he ever was in the WWE, just look at those three men. Look at those three men. WWE would release Dolph Ziggler. If he goes to the Indies, he would make a name for himself there, and he would become the biggest draw in the independent scene at whatever company he chooses to go to. Same thing with New Japan, same thing with All Elite Wrestling. Dolph Ziggler would be an A-plus player. Dolph Ziggler would be a focal point. He would be a vital superstar in the world of All Elite Wrestling, New Japan, or whatever company he decided to go to if he was released from WWE. Vince McMahon knows this. Vince McMahon doesn't want to make the same mistake that he made with Jon Moxley as he made with Dolph Ziggler. Hell, you could take a look at what Vince McMahon has been doing. Vince McMahon has been handing out 5-year deals and trying to lock down everyone as if he's handing out candy on Halloween. Vince McMahon has been trying to lock down everyone. So he decided to just pay Dolph Ziggler for the duration of his contract to sit at home. Sit at home, and then when he's up, he's up. He's trying to hold Dolph Ziggler away from possibly going to All Elite Wrestling for as much time as he possibly can, because he knows that Dolph Ziggler will make a name for his fucking self and fucking stick it to WWE. Without a shadow of a doubt. More likely than not, Dolph Ziggler is All Elite bound when his contract is up. He's going to be sitting at home, he's going to get all of this money, and then once he's done, to All Elite Wrestling he goes. I actually wanted to save this specific report for the last report on the news, rumors, and reports section, because this report is rather interesting. Rather interesting because WWE is now in talks about having a second Evolution event. Tom Colohue reports that WWE didn't pull the trigger on holding another Evolution event because they were not confident in the star power. Now, things have changed, and apparently we can thank Sasha Banks for some of that. He states, and I quote, "Talks never really ended, but they were always brief. Some people were fiercely for it, but the logistics didn't iron out. Things are looking very different now. People higher up are starting to listen." So, let me ask you this. I really have a lot of shit to say about this. Whose fault is it? In the WWE's eyes. In WWE's eyes, there's not enough star power. Whose fault is it that in WWE's eyes there's no star power in the women's division? Is it the women's fault? The competitor's fault? Is it the fans' fault for not caring? WWE doing the same thing that they've always done. They fail to realize that it's no one's fault but theirs. It is their fault that in their eyes there's no star power. And while we're on this topic of star power, why don't we take a look at the women in the WWE right now, excluding Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks, excluding those two women right now, because you know for a fact that Ronda Rousey is eventually coming back. Excluding those two women right now, take a look at the women that WWE has, scattered across all brands in the WWE. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Asuka, Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Naomi, Toni Storm, Kaylee Ray, Piper Niven, Rhea Ripley, Ginny, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Shayna Baszler. Are you fucking telling me that you don't have any faith in any of those women whatsoever to draw and give you a great fucking show? You're telling me you don't have any faith in any of those women that I just named outside of Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks to draw people in to watch that show? That is fucking pathetic. That is absolutely fucking pathetic. And you know, Evolution wasn't even that memorable. Evolution wasn't even that memorable last year. Outside of Toni Storm versus Io Shirai, outside of Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler, and outside of Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair in that Match of the Year candidate, there was nothing on that show that was worth going back and watching. There was nothing on that show that was special, and the majority of the show was a waste of time. The majority of the show was a waste of time, and, you know, there's a reason. There's a reason why I don't want another Evolution event. There's a reason. You know, a lot of the feminists and the social justice warriors came crawling out of their cages on all fours and came crawling out of their fucking dark bedrooms, and they pranced and skipped around like ponies and said it was the greatest pay-per-view of 2018, especially the ones that were there live. No, it was not the greatest pay-per-view of 2018, despite what you think. But that's not the reason why I don't want another Evolution event. That's not the reason why. There's one reason, and one reason only, why I don't want another Evolution event. Take a look at the 3 matches that I just named that made that show decent. What is it about those matches that made those matches so good? It's simple. It's because those 3 matches had the correct 6 women in those matches. Toni Storm and Io Shirai was the correct match for the Mae Young Classic Finals. Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair in a last woman standing match was the correct match for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler was the correct match for the NXT Women's Championship. WWE placed the correct women in the correct matches for those 3 matches specifically. That's why they were so good. Let's go one step at a time with everything else. You had Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox, who recently got into another drunken altercation. This time, she was drunk and had an altercation with a fan over SummerSlam weekend. The fact that she hasn't been fired right now is absolutely fucking ridiculous. You had Alicia Fox, the same Alicia Fox who gets wasted on the job and is a complete waste of a payroll in a tag team match alongside Mickie James against Trish Stratus and Lita, which was not special whatsoever. It was a generic house show-like tag team match. If you exclude the drunk altercations with Alicia Fox, if you exclude the fact that she's an alcoholic, what does Alicia Fox possess that makes you want to go out of your way to watch her? Nothing. She's sloppy, she has a shit character, and her timing is fucking horrendous when it comes to matches. She was so off in breaking up a pinfall at Evolution in that tag team match that the referee actually had to purposely slow down. That would have been a fucking 5 count if Alicia Fox didn't break it up. Fucking horrendous. Alicia Fox is fucking horrendous. The fact that they have not fired her is beyond me. Let's take a look at the Battle Royal. The Battle Royal was won by Nia Jax. of all people. That's self-explanatory. I should not have to explain to you why Nia Jax is fucking horrendous. All that Battle Royal did was showcase the poor treatment with women with actual talent like Naomi, Asuka, and Ember Moon. Ruby Riott, Bayley, and Sasha Banks, three of the most talented women on the main roster, were put in a worthless six-woman tag. It wasn't a bad six-woman tag, I'm not saying that. It was not bad at all. It was very good. But at the end of the day, there was no difference between that six-woman tag and the 52 other six-women tag team matches that we've seen 52 weeks out of 2018. And if you think that that Evolution, that specific Evolution six-woman tag was different or anything special, you are absolutely fucking lying to yourselves. You're lying to yourselves. There was no difference between Sasha, Bayley, and Natty versus the Riot Squad at Evolution than there was between the 52 other six-woman tags that we saw scattered throughout 2018. No difference whatsoever. And to top it all off, you had Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella, of all people, a fucking Kim Kardashian wannabe, in there with a former UFC fighter. You had Nikki Bella, who can't even run the ropes correctly and doesn't even give a shit about professional wrestling to begin with. You had her in there against Ronda Rousey for 15 minutes, which resulted in one of the worst matches of the entire year of 2018, and without a shadow of a doubt, the worst women's match of 2018. And if you think that match was even halfway decent, you need to check yourself into a hospital and schedule yourself for immediate brain surgery. I cannot help you. There is nothing that you can say that would justify that match at all. The fact that Ronda Rousey was taken to the limit by a reality television star trying her hardest to be Kim Kardashian, but yet Ruby Riott didn't even get 2 minutes against Ronda Rousey at Elimination Chamber just 5 months later is absolutely fucking disgusting. Disgusting. If you haven't realized it by now, the only reason why I don't want another Evolution event is because I cannot fucking stand to see the most talented women in WWE get put in meaningless matches that at the end of the day mean nothing. I legitimately don't want to see Evolution 2 unless the correct women get placed in the correct matches at the event. I don't need to turn on the network and see Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending the women's tag team titles against two legends in Trish and Lita and having Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defeat Trish and Lita. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see a meaningless battle royal with extremely talented women in it like Kairi, Asuka, and Ember, only for it to be won by Lacey Evans. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see fucking Nikki Bella in the ring again when I nearly got AIDS from watching her in the ring against Ronda Rousey at last year's Evolution. I don't need that. I don't fucking need that. I do not trust this company whatsoever to give us an Evolution event in which every single match has the right women placed in the right position in the right matches. If we're going to get Evolution 2, unless we get Sasha and Becky for the Raw Women's Championship and Bayley and Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship as your top two matches, the last two matches that we see on that show, it's a complete waste of time. It's automatically deemed a failure. WWE needs to book Evolution with the correct women in the correct spots. Sasha and Becky, Bayley and Charlotte. Those are your two main event matches. Those are your two main matches. Then you can experiment. You can have Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair for the NXT Women's Championship. I wouldn't mind that. You could have fucking the Kabuki Warriors versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville for the Women's Tag Team Championships. You can have a rematch between Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm for the NXT UK Women's Championship. You can experiment. I wouldn't mind that. But at the end of the day, if you don't do this shit correctly, if you do not book the correct women in the correct matches, Evolution will be the same shit as last year. Plain and simple. And then you'll have everyone scattered across the wrestling community say it was the best fucking pay-per-view of the year, even if it sucked. Evolution did not live up to expectations. Evolution last year only proved to you that WWE didn't care about women's wrestling. They merely did Evolution last year to look good in the eyes of the public because 5 days later, they were going to Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel after the alleged reports of the Saudi Arabians killing an American journalist. That's the only reason why they had Evolution, just to look good in the eyes of the public. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. If WWE does not put the correct women in the correct matches at Evolution, I do not want to see this event whatsoever. We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, but I do not have any faith in WWE to do that. I don't. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Follow me on Twitter at Man of Charisma. Follow me on Instagram at the DJ Storms. I want you guys to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road towards 1,400 subscribers. We're going to try and get to 1,400 subscribers by the end of the summer. I also want you guys to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the weekly shows this week and what's your reactions to WWE doing an Evolution 2. I want you guys to hit that thumbs up. I'm going to try and get this video to 15 thumbs up. And I also want you to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it's the best time to be on YouTube. I will post the links for the rundown, or not the rundown, the rewind for NXT TakeOver Toronto 2 and SummerSlam in the description if you want to go back and watch them. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. I will catch you in about 2 weeks for the rundown for NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, as I will not be here next week. I will be on vacation. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you real soon.